Before we jump in, know that you can participate. You can turn on your cameras, join the fun. You can see myself, our speakers here. We all have our cameras on. Everyone's doing it. All the cool kids are doing it. Jump in and participate. We would love to see you. It's a great way for our speakers to connect with you. We are recording this conversation, so we will email a rewatch link in the next. Woo! Sorry about that. Let me turn off my little moment there. Sorry. Wasn't that fun? We were in the Matrix. Things are wild. There was a feedback loop. What is real? Who knows? Okay, I got to remember to close those windows in the future. Okay, if you want to write in the chat and participate and ask questions like, what just happened? You can ask questions like that in the chat, and I will do my best to make up an answer to keep you entertained. Also, if you have any real questions, I will give you real answers. You can DM me if you want to ask a question anonymously to our speakers. I am happy to relay those questions on your behalf. And we have all these great pre-submitted questions from you. The way this is going to work is you wrote all these amazing questions in advance. You sent them to us. We have them in a doc now. And if you have more questions you want to ask, drop it in the chat. We would love to hear from you. And please keep in mind that this is a shared space. So please use inclusive, welcoming language so we can all have a great time and learn the most we can learn in the next hour. Okay, without further ado, we have Kelly here today. Kelly is a career coach and global talent acquisitions and recruiting operations leader. Try to say that 5 times fast. She is the founder of Allora Collective, a team of coaches that helps people navigate the job search process, career pivots, and managing relocation. She guides her clients through career changes in roles or companies and plans relocation. So you are in the right place for the topic today, friends. Kelly developed scalable talent acquisition programs and creating job search programs for Booking.com, the NFL, and General Assembly. She works with teams to improve their hiring programs with structured and adaptive solutions focused on the quality of the experience. So please welcome Kelly. And we have not one, but 2 speakers today. Rachel grew up in France as well as the UK and enjoyed life in London for many years. Her expat experience included living in Hong Kong, then Bangkok, Thailand, and is now living in Paris, France. Her career expertise lies in recruiting and hiring global talent for sales, commercial, finance, HR, and other corporate positions at the levels of seniority across markets such as APAC, Europe, and Dubai. So amazing. She advises on relocation and will help you prepare and practice for your next interview. So please give a digital round of applause to Rachel and Kelly. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you two?
Good. We're excited to be here. Looks like we've got a good crowd. Rachel and I had some excellent questions, and we were going over some tips to help everybody. And it's good to see how much interest there is in these virtual career fairs. They're so convenient. They make it a lot easier to get more exposure and to build your network. So, we're excited to be here and to have you hosting again, Hunter. This is event number 2. We're on a roll.
Here we are. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the events going, Kelly and Rachel. And how are you today, Rachel, calling in from Paris?
Great. Thank you, Hunter, for asking. Great. And it's definitely exciting to be here. I think it's the first time, though, that we do an event as early in the day I guess, talking from a European time perspective. And I see people joining from Stuttgart in Germany as well. And I think I saw someone else from Europe here. Well, there's Alva in Tenerife. So it's great that this event also spans across kind of US and Europe time zones. And obviously all of the great tips that we will share are really kind of applicable for everyone, wherever they're based. So we look forward to answering these great questions and hopefully yeah, it will benefit everyone. And just to, yeah, as Hunter said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to just ask, write them in the chat. We're here to answer all of your questions during this 1 hour. So yeah, please make sure that you do write them in the chat or ask them. And yeah, and we can get going.
Awesome. Yeah, like you said, we have folks all over. I'm seeing Brooklyn, Florida, Atlanta, Germany, the Poconos, more Brooklyn representation. I'm usually calling in from New York, but today I'm calling in from New Orleans, which is a beautiful, amazing city that I'm visiting right now. We got Maryland, Denver, quite early in Denver. What time is it in Paris right now, Rachel?
It's just after 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Okay, great. Okay, so friends, today's topic is how to prepare for a virtual job fair and land an interview, right? So we do a lot of virtual job fairs here at Power to Fly. They're usually part of our Diversity Reboot Summits, which we do usually one, sometimes two a month. Check out the calendar for upcoming ones. So, people might ask, someone asked us, how is a Power to Fly virtual job fair structured and what can we expect from these events? So I'll kind of walk us through what a Power to Fly one looks like, including our upcoming one. So usually the way it works is, like I said, we'll have a Diversity Reboot Summit, right? So we'll have 2 days before the job fair where you'll get to hear all these different companies and speakers, and that's usually what leads up to our job fair. So we like to create a week out of it. And then you'll get to join a main stage. Usually the job fair is 1, sometimes 2 days. It's usually like the Thursday or the Friday of the week when we do it. And so you'll hear a 1 hour presentation in which you'll be able to hear from a bunch of our hiring companies, the open roles, their benefits and work culture. After the presentation, you'll get the opportunities to join different, what we call breakout rooms. So the way it works is you'll hear these companies for the hour. You'll get to write in the chat, ask some questions. And then in the breakout room, you can pick a room in advance, and it'll be like, okay, well, now we're going to go to the breakout rooms, and it's like this mad dash of everyone going to different breakout rooms, and it's automatically sending you there, or you can choose them. So for example, we'll have rooms like engineering and tech sales and customer success, strategy and growth. IT really will be specific to the type of work you're looking for, because in the job fairs we'll have all these different companies, and then usually we'll have everyone from each company represented in the breakout room. So you'll get to pick by type of job as opposed to each company. So it's a great way to then ask questions specifically. You get to come off camera or come on camera. I guess that's kind of like, are you waiting online or in line, depending on what coast you're in New York City. But you get to show your face and ask a question. And then those breakout rooms usually are, sometimes they're half an hour, sometimes they're an hour. And then when those are done, you'll get to go back to the main stage, and there will be usually another hour of more talks. So that's how it'll work. And then each company is broken up. So you get to see each company's chat again. And sometimes it's different panelists for the company, and sometimes it's different companies. So they're pretty amazing. You get to see all these different companies, and you get to ask your questions specifically. So that's how our job fairs work. We'd love to hear if you've been to a Power to Fly job fair. Please write in the chat. Let us know what your experience is like. We've had many people here, and I know that Rachel and Kelly might be able to attest to this. We have some people that have come to Power to Fly job fairs that now work at Power to Fly, that have found a lot of opportunities, that have met up with other folks from, have really found their new homes and employment from the job fairs here at Power to Fly. So it's pretty amazing what is possible. That's sort of my answer on how they work here at Power to Fly. Kelly and Rachel, before I jump into the next question, anything that you'd like to add about, the Power to Fly experience and what it's been like when you've participated and jumped in? Anything that you'd like to add to that enclave of information I've just thrown at everyone?
I think Rachel would agree. I think Power to Fly, the strongest piece of it is the community. I think the sponsors, the companies, the recruiters, the hiring managers that show up, they show up, they're present, they are sharing contact information. If they are participating in the event, you should absolutely feel free to connect with them and add them to your networks in LinkedIn. And if you don't get to ask questions live, you can ask them either using their email or on the platform. And I think the community of how you all network with each other, I think is what has impressed me the most in the last 3 years that I've been doing these events with Power to Fly. The chats are always just lighting up with everyone saying where they're joining from. We're all sharing our links, people sending us invites on LinkedIn to connect with them so we can help with intros for jobs or work with them as clients. And it's just been a really wonderful experience to just meet everybody and connect. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I do think it's this community piece where, everyone can actually also ask questions. So all of the events are actually very interactive. That's what I really like about them. And the structure of it. So how you're kind of reminded that there's an event coming up. And then you do get recordings like this as well. So you can always watch it again afterwards. So it's not just the actual event itself, but it's also the preparation to it and what comes as well after the event that I really enjoy.
Yeah, totally. And like Rachel just mentioned, we do record so much of the events and contents here that we do at Power to Fly. So you can go to the Power to Fly website. You can check out so many other links. You can also go to our YouTube channel. These are called Chat and Learns, and you can check out the Chat and Learns. There's that we have, like Kelly was saying, Kelly alone has done probably 20 of them. So we have hundreds and hundreds of amazing things now, years of Chat and Learns and other videos from other companies that you can check out. I want to give a little love to this chat here. We also got some folks from England, and also someone in the chat was talking about the job fair, said, I love them. I've been to a few job fairs and have share it with more than a handful of people. And I love being part of the Power to Fly family. I love the Fly family. That sounds like Fly and the Family Stones here. So we love being a part of your family. We love helping you. And I love hearing about all of y'all's experiences. So just a reminder, we have 45 minutes. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat and we will answer them. But first, your pre-submitted questions. So Rachel and Kelly, so what I would like to do is sort of like ping pong questions to you, maybe, ask you both the same question, or if you're like, yep, that's good, we can move on, we'll do that too. So someone asked and said, you talk about the importance of the pre-event research. Very important. What type of information about these hiring companies should we look for? Rachel, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, and I guess my answer here will apply to how you would also do research before an interview, because I think that also applies to an event, an interview, to any different type of scenario here. So you would kind of look at the company to start with. So just getting basic information about the company, what's its size, how many employees does it have, what's the scale of the business, is it a global company or not? And so that will already give you an indication of perhaps how many people work there, and then going through the websites, you kind of see the different types of positions that they may be recruiting for. So that will give you an idea as to whether there is something already on there that you'd like to apply, that you've kind of noticed. Also look at the kind of company culture page, obviously the careers page, but also the company culture page. Sometimes companies also describe how the interview process is. And I mention that now because there is another question around what questions I should ask in an event. So do not ask, questions like, what's maybe some of the interview processes like, if you know that the answer is available on the website. So this is why pre-events research is important. So we try and get a good feel as to what the company culture may be like, would you see yourself working there? But also look at, outside of this kind of basic research, look at Glassdoor for, reviews. Other people may comment about Glassdoor. Obviously look at LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a key tool here, because if a company is well set up on LinkedIn, they'll also have different tabs around, obviously their jobs, their kind of culture, recent posts that they would have added as well. And what I like to do is also just to check out videos that there may be about this company. Sometimes it can actually be interviews, so employees being interviewed about their job, and you also get a feel as to how the offices also look like. So you may not actually have to go that often to the office nowadays, but it still gives you an indication as to how it looks. Is it modern enough? And it may kind of help you, for you to kind of prepare questions that you may want to ask. A little tip before I pass this on to Kelly. So also search by hashtags. So let's say you're interested in X company. So on LinkedIn, you can search for hashtag X company. So if people have posted about this company, you'll see posts coming up as well. But Kelly, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, sorry guys, I got my glasses on so I can try to handle some in the chat, because I want us to get through as many questions as possible, and it's hard to do with limited time. So action-oriented research, yes, you want to be aware of the company overall, you want to kind of study up for it. That's very relevant for interview prep. For these virtual events, you want to have a purpose if you get the chance to speak, or if you get the chance to message someone in a chat, whether it's a hiring manager or a recruiter. So just to piggyback on exactly what Rachel said, you're going to look for open jobs that might make sense for you, and then create your 10-second elevator pitch in case you can speak to it. You're going to write 2 sentences about why you're a fit for the job or the team. Maybe they work in cross-functional pods, or the product they work on is, resonates with you. You're going to prepare so that you can present yourself very quickly and very specifically during the event, if you get the chance. If you don't get the chance, then you still use that messaging and that prep to follow up with people after. So there's no waste. I would say that is a very targeted way to prepare for these things. So look at the companies, look at the speakers, check out their backgrounds, maybe 1 question per person, and then you're ready to go when you step into the event. And we have a couple of other questions on the list that are connected to this, so I don't want to go too far with it, but I would say, yeah, be prepared, targeted, in case you can speak or you can message with someone.
Absolutely. And Kelly, I'll keep it with you for a sec, because we can go a little deeper. Someone's the next question was, what are some strategies to make a good first impression, right? So we were just talking about like doing your research probably is going to help with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Doing your research and being prepared and knowing your audience and who you're speaking to is one thing. Presenting is the next part. That's the good impression part, right? That's what does my resume look like when I present it? But the next stage is the interview. And when you go to these events, you want to be prepared for that. So number 1 is get your shareable items ready to go. If you see that I already shared twice, all of our links in 1 copy and paste, our website, our LinkedIn, our Instagram. You should have that ready for yourself as well before any of these events. In some chats, maybe you can upload a PDF of your resume, maybe not. But either way, in a Google Doc, in a draft email, in the Notes app, I don't care where, you should have your email address and the link to your LinkedIn profile ready to go, so that as you're engaging and talking to people, you can automatically paste it in there. Then you want to have a quick pitch. 15 to 30 seconds tops if you get the chance to talk. You don't want to be the one that gets a chance to talk while 30 people are waiting, and then someone's trying to rush you off the stage like the music is at the Oscars. You want to be specific and get right to the point. So just as a sample, here's one I wrote out, and when I tested it, it took me about 13, 14 seconds to say, "Hi, my name is Kelly. Thank you for hosting the event." And then I give you 2 options to insert afterward. Option 1, I'm happy to connect with you because I want to interview for the role of talent acquisition lead, and I'm a great match. What's the best way for me to connect with you about this role after the event? I just shared my contact links in the chat. Option 2, I'm happy to connect with you because I appreciate that your team works in small cross-functional pods, which is how I worked in my previous role, and that's what I want to continue doing. And I feel that it's the best way for teams to be productive and collaborative. I didn't find an open job that's a match for me, but what's the best way for me to connect with you and your team so I can be in your talent pool when something opens up? I belong in the role of, you can spit that out in 15 to 20, maybe 30 seconds tops. You're adding something personal, you're showing you did your homework and you're being specific and you're giving a clear reason and you're not just saying, hi, I like your company. I suggest that approach. It's impressive. Rachel?
I love that.
Some great tips. I thought I could see people taking notes, which is what we want to see. But I really like Kelly always has great kind of actionable examples that we can use. But when you do have these kinds of interviews, or if you want to make an impression for an online event, it may just be, I would say, prepare as if this is going to be a face-to-face meeting. Like, it's fine if you're just wearing like leggings or whatever it is. You don't have to kind of, wear a full-on suit, but prepare and be ready as if this was going to be a face-to-face meeting. Like, make sure obviously your background is kind of all nice and there's no kind of clutter behind you, whatever it may be. But if you're going to speak, you want to make sure that that you're ready, that you have your notes, and it's fine. If you have, let's say, 2 screens like I do, then you can have your notes on one screen and then how you're actually talking to people, and you kind of look at the kind of camera as well. So I guess I know there's a question as well on kind of what we kind of need to prepare technically and how we need to prepare technically. But making a good impression is really around, making sure that you're going to speak to real people. You're not going to see them in person, but make sure that you are prepared, that you have your questions ready, that you have your comments and your preparation, that kind of short pitch about yourself ready beforehand. And, if you want to practice, ask a friend. If you want more help, obviously we're here as Allora Collective. If you wanted to do sessions with us to help you prepare on that pitch and how to practice interviews as well.
Nice transition, Rachel. We just killed the next question. The only thing about the question, which was technical recommendations for lighting, Zoom backgrounds, you always have the option to blur your Zoom background. There's a thing that I turned on, not all the way, but it does kind of filter your skin a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. And then the other thing about lighting is you want to try to have lighting in front of you and in front of your face, not behind you. Outside of that, just what Rachel said is part of the impression of having something prepared to say. And again, if you don't get your chance to say it, you can copy and paste it in a follow-up message later. So the work will not go to waste. And then try to just relax as much as you can. Have a drink or a glass of water nearby, make sure everything's charged, and have at it. With that, we just put questions in one. So that was good.
Yeah, you really did. And I just to second what Kelly said, like the window should be behind your screen. You don't need to get fancy lighting. The window just needs to be over there. And I also do what Kelly does, which is just turn that touch up just a hair. Don't go all the way up. Just like, you can touch up your appearance just like 5%, little whisper of it. And Kelly, thank you for, just knocking out the questions in the chat. I appreciate you so much. Like, Kelly is so on this, so thank you. Okay, so that's our technical recommendations, lighting, Zoom. Maybe just touch on make sure you have good sound, do a sound check, and make sure your internet connection is strong. Okay, so we touched on this a little bit too. Someone said we get a few minutes to introduce ourselves and ask questions. How should we structure this presentation, and what questions would you recommend asking? So Kelly and Rachel, we talked a little bit about the pitch, but now let's talk about the questions, right? Rachel, do you want to kick us off with one?
Yeah, questions really depend on what you want to find out. Like, what is important for you to find out when you ask those questions? As I mentioned earlier, when you do your kind of pre-event or pre-interview research, there may be things that will come up, and you want to make the most of your time during the events. Bearing in mind that it's also the time of others, because you'll be like this one, there's multiple people attending the event, so you don't want to ask questions that may not be as relevant. For example, asking a company by the way, how many days of annual leave do you offer? Like this is probably not the time and place to ask a question like that. If, let's say, you're looking for, let's say, a sales role, and you really want to work remotely, and you haven't really quite been able to find out if the company offers remote working. So then you would ask, what would be your kind of remote setup? What is your kind of, work from home policy? So anything kind of like that, that is really important for you. If that means, and if the answer is, oh, we don't do remote working, we ask people to come to the office every single day, that will help you understand, like, do you actually want to pursue this company or not? Like, really think of the questions that are key for you and for your job search. And for that, I would kind of suggest, have an Excel spreadsheet, have your list of companies, have your questions listed, really kind of understand, these key points for you. I did actually write a blog a few months ago on how to understand if the company, or how do you know if a company is the right fit for you. So really think about these specific elements, and these are really kind of individual questions that you would need to ask in the event. As I mentioned, making sure that they are still sort of relatively general enough that everyone can actually benefit from them, and that they're not too specific at the same time.
Love that. And just to answer a couple questions in the chat, welcome if you're just joining us. Yes, you can use the chat to ask questions. You are welcome to turn your camera on, but you do not have to. We love to see your shining faces. And also, if you want to keep your camera off and ask questions in the chat, that is also fine. Great. Kelly, would you like to add anything on the topic of what questions to ask?
Yeah, I think it's really important when it comes to these questions is to think about what you're walking into, the same way that is somebody doing a general resume review is nice, but they're just going to look at grammar and, maybe your spelling. You have to think about the audience. If clients come to us and they give us their resume and their pitch, but we don't know the role of the company they're going for, we can't really help them. So if you're showing up to a virtual job fair where the opportunity is a networking session, asking about things that you could find on your own and doing your own research. If it's compensation, then you look at PayScale, salary.com, or just do a Google search. You figure out your job title and you benchmark it with the location that you're at, and you figure out your salary range. Most companies these days will have a list of their basic benefits package offered on their career site. So if you're going to the event to network, then your question should be about that. How do I connect with you after this event? Thank you for speaking about this. This is what I'm interested in. Is there someone else at the company you suggest I connect with? Thank you. Somebody wrote about data. I'm really looking for a role in data. Do you have a technical recruiter that focuses on your data engineering roles, and can I connect with them because that's what I want? The more specific you can be, the easier it is for someone to help you. When you're emailing, when you're sending LinkedIn message, when you go to these events, if you ask something that's general and broad and an action doesn't result, you're kind of wasting the opportunity. Does that make sense? If anyone is, I'm trying to narrow you in because I want you to get responses from people that move you forward, right? What we're talking about now are career coaching tactics and job search tactics. This isn't like discovery life coaching. What do I do with myself? It's, I want to go from here to here. And how do I get this person to give me the way? Like, how do I get them to say yes? So be specific about what you're asking for. And even if all you want is to add a connection, then just say that. I couldn't find a job posted. I love your company. I love that your product does this and it feeds the world. How can I connect with you after so that when a job opens up, maybe next quarter, I can reach out to you so I don't get lost in the inbox? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And Monica from the chat says, definitely makes sense. You got Monica.
Monica friend. Monica, she makes jokes about her name to get people to laugh. And I love that. People will remember that you made them laugh. It will keep it light. It's a beautiful thing. Well done, Monica.
Yeah, and that's just like one little way of showing your personality, right? You can just put it right there in your name. I love that. So, Rachel, I'll pop this over to you, but Kelly started to allude to it a little bit too about Someone asked, is it appropriate to ask about compensation and benefit packages during these events? If so, how would you go about it?
Mm-hmm. For me, I put like in the kind of benefits, package, whether it's annual leave, as I mentioned, like it's fine to ask that, but does it really matter at this point? Why are you actually attending the events? Like ask yourself these kind of questions. Bear in mind that also depending on where you are in the world, or let's say in the US, or even within a particular country, that the compensation will vary. It will vary depending on your location, your experience, and loads of other factors as well. So it's fine to ask it, but you may not get a very kind of accurate answer. And it's probably not the right place to kind of bring it up. As I mentioned, I think it's probably best to ask kind of general general questions, like if they have a work from home policy, if they have any perhaps initiatives that the business is actually driving. It could be, with volunteering, like basically whatever may interest you. It can be like the community part that a company also wants to put forward. It can be about development opportunities and asking specific questions on that, like what type of specific training will they kind of offer for, let's say, if you're interviewing or if you're kind of attending an event for, let's say, a data role, will they have specific training for you to learn specific tools, for example? So really making sure your questions are kind of specific. Ideally, you don't want to have it as a kind of yes or no type of question. It has to be an open question that kind of gets information as much as possible from whoever is speaking.
Great. Thank you for that, Rachel. Kelly, would you like to add about talking about compensation packages? Is it appropriate? How would we like to go about it in these types of events?
I mean, I'm with Rachel. When it comes to comp, you'll get there, right? You're either going to discuss it in the first stage if you get an interview with a recruiter, or you're going to discuss it later stages, either with a hiring manager or towards the end to make sure it's a fit. Either way, in an event like this, I don't think it's the best use of your time. It's on pretty much everyone's careers page. And if it's not, you can use PayScale, salary.com. In some states currently, they are required to put the base salary in the job description or the range. That doesn't include stock and all the other stuff, by the way. And if you need to know about that, you can ask us and just book a free session. We'll tell you more. But I don't think it's the best use of your time for these events. The idea is to expand your network and hopefully get an interview. And the reality is, until you get to late stage or a final stage, you're just adding people to your network and hopefully adding connections and friends, so to speak, not best friends, but people to your network. Until you get to an offer, there is no offer. You can look up your own job title or the job titles you're going for. You can benchmark it with the location that you're at, or if you're working remote. And again, PayScale, salary.com, LinkedIn, you can do a Google search for salary of this role in this location or salary of this role remote. It's going to change depending on which country you're talking about. It's going to change depending on which state. For example, when I worked in California and then I moved to Washington and lived in Seattle, I was able to take a pay cut in my base salary because Washington has no state tax. So even though my salary was less, I ended up with more cash in my pocket. These are the things you want to research. And if you're looking at going international to Europe, do not expect an American salary, but you don't need it because the standard of living is completely different. You can look at a website like Numbeo, Numbeo, or Nomad List, and it'll show you more about standards of living in other countries. So for compensation, do your own research. If you're looking at startups, Angel List used to have a good one where you can do a sliding scale for stock value also. So is it inappropriate? I'm with Rachel. I don't think it's inappropriate. I just don't think, like, why if you get the chance to ask something, why are you going to ask something you can figure out on your own?
And I think that ties back to the beginning of like doing your research and being prepared for an interview. That's part of it. Like you said, if it's not listed, you're going to get there in the next stage anyway. So really utilizing the time with the people that you have, like Rachel was saying, you're talking to real people and you might as well get the most real information you can get out of it. Company culture, what's it actually like? Okay, friends, we have
And
about, please go ahead.
yeah, if you don't mind, I just saw this last question on the chat from Stephanie. Is a LinkedIn profile mandatory? I really would like to answer this one because I do think it is essential actually in this modern day and age. If you look for a job, if you prepare, like, you can use LinkedIn. It's not just, you're not putting your profile up there like this. It's not Tinder, it's not Instagram, it's not TikTok, or whatever it is. This is a professional network. You're supposed to have a professional picture of yourself. And there has been data that show that if you do have a picture of yourself, you have more chances of being approached by companies as well. LinkedIn is for a number of reasons. Companies are listed on there. People are obviously on LinkedIn. You, as a job, whether you're actually searching for a job or not, you can basically, I'm just like scrolling on my phone on LinkedIn all the time, basically. Obviously, I'm a recruiter, so I also use it for work. But having a profile up there will kind of will increase your credibility. I say this because if you apply for a job, the chances are the recruiters will also try and look you up on LinkedIn. Like, this is actually what I do. I just want to see if the experience matches. I want to see perhaps if the person has referrals on LinkedIn. If you don't have referrals, it's not a negative thing. It's not a bad thing. But I also sometimes use LinkedIn to search for candidates. And not sometimes, by the way, but it happens pretty much every day that I'm on LinkedIn, putting up my keywords, trying to find candidates that have experience in finance or Power BI or whatever it is. So having a profile on LinkedIn only increases your chances of being contacted for a job and also applying for a job. And I'll just finish by saying that the reason why you have a profile on LinkedIn is for people to see your profile, but also for you to be able to kind of have a kind of one-page resume, which is your LinkedIn profile, so that if you see a job that you like, and if the company has the easy apply button, you can literally just click and your LinkedIn profile is sent to the company. Like, you don't even have to add your resume. You can, and I always recommend that you do that. But if there is that easy option to apply, it only increases your chances of applying, and you have nothing to lose, basically. So definitely really work on creating your profile on LinkedIn. It will only increase your chances. You have nothing to lose from it.
Love that. Kelly, anything on LinkedIn that you'd like to add before we move on?
Use it for what it's good for. Use it for what it's worth. If you turn it on and there's people coming out of FANG companies that got laid off and they're devastated, and like myself, we know that they got severance packages and it's making us depressed, don't read it. Use it for what it is going to do for you. Use it to have a Facebook for work or an Instagram for work, or it's a way to stay connected with everyone in your career sphere, so you can map who worked at what company they work at now, what shared connections do I have. If I want to connect with Hunter, but he's not a first connect of mine, ooh, Rachel's connected to him. I can ask her for an introduction, and then maybe he'll help get my resume in front of a hiring manager. Use it for what it's for, like company research. If you notice, or you do if you look at all employees of a company before you interview, and then you use the filter on LinkedIn of past company, if you notice there's a bunch of people with the company you're interviewing for that left around the same time, something happened. So use it for what it's worth. You don't have to do there's no mandatory amount of activity you have to do. You don't have to always comment or always do things, but it's an introvert's dream. You don't even have to talk to people. Click like, drop a comment. Thanks for sharing, and call it a day. That's really all it is. Okay.
I love that. And I love the pro tip about searching past. That's a pretty good one. That's a good one.
Oh, you can do some sleuthy things on that platform. I've had some fun with that. You can write Boolean search strings, which we haven't done the blog for it yet, but we've helped clients do that. So when you do a people search or a company search or a job search, instead of searching for one job title or just using LinkedIn's filters, you can write a Boolean search string, meaning you can tell the system to search for multiple keywords at the same time. So let's say you have experience as a product manager, but you also have a background in engineering. You could search for jobs for software engineers and product managers in one shot. Maybe you have a specific search. Someone on here said they want to move to Seattle. So you combine those roles, but you add the location of Seattle and you tell the system, you're basically telling the algorithm what to do. It's called Boolean, Boolean.
So cool. And Kelly dropped a link in the chat with resources to reach out to them. If you want to learn more of these pro tips, you can book a session with them and they will help you with these things as well. Okay, friends, we have just under 20 minutes left, so keep those questions coming. Okay, so this is going to kind of tie to LinkedIn, but also in a much broader way as well. Someone asked, can you share some tips on how to craft a narrative as an aspiring career pivoter with logically no industry related experience? So this could affect, you know, how we're presenting ourselves on LinkedIn. This also is how we're going to present ourselves in our pitch, you know, with like 15 to 30 second narrative. Rachel, what are some tips that someone that's pivoting and doesn't necessarily have the related experience for the new industry that they're going into?
Yeah. So I think two different things here. I guess, you know, you can change industries. So for example, you could work in sales in let's say pharma, and you could still decide to just move from sales to I don't know, IT, right? For me, that's not really a career pivot. Career pivot for me is more like a radical kind of change of job. But regardless as to how, you know, you would want to, what you would want to kind of change, what you want to put forward are the transferable skills that you have. So, for example, if you are a salesperson and you want actually to go into recruitment, you may kind of put forward your skills as to how you've had experience pitching to clients, and that you feel that these skills would be valuable when you're trying to attract candidates to maybe apply for a niche position, for example. You may also feel that you may want to use your negotiating skills to negotiate salaries with candidates and try and find the right balance between candidates and hiring managers, or, you know, depending on who in the company is involved into kind of, you know, who has the kind of decision-making power for that salary. So you have to present and demonstrate the skills that you have acquired in the past and compare them with what is your understanding of that new position. And again, I'm kind of, you know, I really like just putting things on an Excel sheet and just write the kind of requirements that you may understand from a job description. If you see things like, you know, collaboration as part of a team or kind of conflict resolution, you know, just write examples as to, you know, from your experience up until now and how you feel your skills would kind of bridge that gap.
Love that.
Probably Kelly has a lot more things
I
to
like
add.
this question. I like this question. I've done 3 pivots, maybe 4, in my career, and I love helping people do this. I don't like the idea that anyone is stuck, but it is not an easy thing to always present that and make someone else understand it clearly. You can never rely on someone else to read between the lines and understand how your previous experience connects to what you want to do next. Something that's helpful is to use either the STAR method or SBI, which are interview prep techniques, where you write out specific examples where how and why you've done things in your career and the results you achieved. And then you look at them and decide which ones actually support your candidacy for the pivot role. And then you choose those and use those in your application, in your mini cover letter, in your introduction request, or when you're asking for referrals. You have to tell people why you fit, and just telling someone you're interested in changing jobs is not enough. It's not that the recruiters or the hiring managers or the people on the other side don't want to help you. It's that they don't have the time and the space to do that work for you. So you have to do that. You have to demonstrate clear examples of how you could transition into the role. Let's say you're on a cross-functional team, you happen to be the engineer, but you're a really good talker and you didn't have a product manager. So you served as the product manager, even though you're in, let's say, a lead engineer on the team. If you want to pivot into product, then your example in connecting yourself to that role is, although I served as lead engineer, I led the product lifecycle for my team as there was no other product manager. I used tools such as on a cross-functional team of 5 that included a data analyst, a business analyst, a data engineer, a designer, and myself serving as engineer and product. You literally have to give it to them like it's a no-brainer. Like if they went out and partied 3 days in a row and they're exhausted and they haven't slept and they can't see straight, you have to give them obvious reasons. And when you put that either on your resume or in a message, the point of it is just so you get the first phone call. That's it. It's not the job. It's just enough so they say, let me ask more. I want to talk to them. So remember, when you're doing your messaging for referrals, for introductions, for your resume, the goal is to get the first interview. That's it. It's like the trailer to a movie, right? Tom Cruise on a motorcycle and something blew up. That's all we get. But it's enough that we want to see the longer trailer or we want to go see the movie and find out more. The full movie is when you're in the interview process and you can tell your complete story. And when you do these things, you should test it with someone else. If I sent this to you, what job do you think I'd be going for? Do you think it matches? And a lot of clients will work with us this way back and forth because we'll help them test it for the audience.
I love that. You want to make that easy for them to make that first reach out. Maybe if they did, if they can't see straight. I love that example. You got me laughing on that one. Okay, friends, we have about 10 minutes left. Keep those questions coming. Let's see. We alluded to this a little bit earlier too, how LinkedIn is an introvert's dream, as Kelly put it. Someone asked, do you have any advice for introverts that struggle with public speaking? What else can we do? Rachel, any tips for the introverts in the house?
Public speaking on a virtual kind of event like this one is a lot easier than just public speaking in front of real life people. Probably loads of people can relate to this, but if you've all seen, the Office and series The Office, and then if there is that comment of like, if you're nervous, just imagine people naked. That can work, but my answer to this is really if you do struggle with public speaking, it's just there's no kind of one solution for everyone. It's more like try to find the one that fits for you. So every time that you're about to speak in public, try and find a technique, or just basically try different techniques. I used to be, I was more introverted myself before, and I was told that if I'm nervous, I have to try and do like different breathing exercises and stuff like that. And I did try that. Then I realized it's not really working for me, or it works for like 5 minutes. And then I just, keep on thinking about how nervous I am. So it's not really, it's just not really worth it. But what I did find kind of helps me is that I kind of focus on what I want to say and how I actually want to say it. Maybe that's because I'm not a native English speaker, but I felt that every time I had to obviously speak, I was like, okay, I have to make sure my message is clear. And that's what I focus on. I'm not going to be focusing on whether there's like 15 or 100 people in a room, because it doesn't, like, this is not going to impact me. What really matters is what I say. So that's what has really worked for me. But I think it depends. And my advice would be, try and search for different techniques and test these different techniques every time that you have the ability to do public speaking.
I love that. Kelly, you're just dropping some truth in the chat as well. What do we?
Yeah, I want us to get through the questions. So my public speaking interview tips from my notes, I just dropped them in the chat for all of you. And there are more techniques that I use to help people, first-time leaders, people that they haven't been a manager before, they have to make a presentation because they're in a brand new job. Whenever you're comfortable, whenever you're a bit uncomfortable, whether it's in person or giving a presentation, there are things that you can do to manage your nerves. And I just put a couple of them in the chat. So hopefully those happen. If you have questions about them, ask us after. You can always book a free session with one of us, me, Rachel, or Anina, and we can do our best to get you started in our 20-minute free and then talk about working together.
I love that. Someone asked, I'm not looking for a new role, but I want to leverage this networking opportunity. How can I build connections in these types of events? Kelly, you want to kick us off with this one?
Beautiful. I love it. Use the chat, prepare your shareable items like we talked about before. Here's my profile. Here's where I'm at. I'd love to connect. I'm growing my network, and copy and paste them, share them in the chat. And it's really as simple as that. Make a note of the speakers at the event. Whether you caught their talk or not, you can always send someone a message. People love compliments. No one's ever going to say, please don't tell me that you liked my topic. Send them a note, send them an invite to connect on LinkedIn. I'm really glad you took time to speak about XYZ. It's going to help me in my career. I'm not looking for a job now, but I'd love to connect for future, and leave it at that. These events can be a great tool for that. Years and years ago, before we had all of these tools, I used to use meetup.com, which a lot of us did for on-site events. And even if I didn't make the actual event or the panel, I would just use the list of who attended and who was speaking and decide who I wanted to reach out to and connect with. So yeah, make the best of it. And I love that you're doing these things for that reason, because the seeds that you plant now with connections are the ones that you're going to use later. Average job search in healthy market, which I don't know what kind of market we have right now, to be honest. Everybody has an opinion about it, but average job search is easily 1 to 3 months if you're doing all your activity and you're putting everything into it. And a job search can be a full-time job. So that's why I say, if you're interviewing or your job search networking, you are adding connections now that when a job is open or when you're ready to look at that company, you'll have a connection to an employee and then you can get a referral. That is always going to be the best way to go. Before we had all these tools like LinkedIn, everybody got a job because of someone they know, right? Your coworker left, and then a month later, they're like, hey, I got a job for you. You want to come over with me? Come with me. Let's work together again. That's how it happened. Now we do it in a different way, but it's the same concept. So when you're going through your job search and you're going to have ups and downs and people will ghost you and it gets frustrating, remember the connections that you're making. And even like Rachel said, 2 minutes on LinkedIn, liking a couple posts and walk away. Those are the tools that are going to help you later on. You're planting those seeds so you can have them later on.
Fantastic. We have just 5 minutes left, so I'm going to move on to the next question, if that's okay with you, Rachel.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, great.
And I saw that there is also a participant, Boban, who would like to, I think, to ask a question. But if you want, Boban, I think you can just unmute yourself.
In this format, actually, we just reserve the questions to the chat. We don't have people
cool.
muted this. Thank you so much
Boban will
for
just have to
highlighting that.
Boban, put your question in the chat and we'll see if we can get to it after we do these other two.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so what are your post-event recommendations, and how shall we follow up with recruiters connected connected during a virtual job fair? Rachel, would you like to check on this one?
So I think we talked about, kind of linking with people, connecting with people, once you've attended an event, obviously this is also where LinkedIn comes useful. Go on LinkedIn and connect with that particular recruiter. Mention that you attended the event. You may not be able to send a very long message on LinkedIn. There's only like a number of limited characters that you can actually type. But my advice is, write a short message and then finish it with an answer so that the person will then have to answer back to you. And then that means the person will have to accept your invite to connect, and then you'll be able to actually send longer messages once you're actually connected. Connect with each other here as well. So, you can connect to people and say, hey, we attended the event together. How's it going for you? Kind of asking them how the job search is going. So different reasons and finding things in common to connect to people about.
Love that. Kelly?
Yeah, we have one more after this. So as you guys can tell, I try to move it so we can get to them all, because there's way more of you than questions we can actually answer. Really simple, if you get the chance during the event to ask how I can follow up with you after, do it. If you don't, if these people are at the event, they are blatantly volunteering to have you reach out. Go on LinkedIn, find them, send them a message. If you can't send them a private message, send them an invite to connect, like Rachel said, and add a note. Ideally, do both. If you can do both, do both. If you click on contact info and you find their email, send them an email also. And in the email, right, I didn't know which inbox is better for you, so I also sent you a message on LinkedIn. Make it so easy, it's stupid for them not to connect with you after, and then evolve the relationship. Follow them on LinkedIn. So when you check your news feed, if they posted about something, whether they're hiring or they wrote a blog, if it's a hiring manager or something like that, it'll show up in your feed. Start training the algorithm to show you useful things. And then you can message and follow up with them or comment and say, this was really helpful to me. Thank you so much. I'm glad we're connected. I'm glad you shared. Don't hesitate to reach out to people. If they are doing events, and quite frankly, if they're on LinkedIn, they're putting it out there. So have at it.
Love that. So in the last minute, I love this question. What are the things we should avoid in these types of events? Rachel, any do not fly list questions here?
Not particularly, but I guess do not kind of ask questions that are kind of irrelevant, right? Keep it professional, focus on the information that you want to get out of it, because this is why you're attending. It's for your benefit, but be mindful that events are timed like this one. So, it's not just your time, it's also other people's time. So ask questions that if you feel everyone could benefit from it, then ask them. But, things like perhaps the compensation piece, that's probably not the best place to ask, if I'm honest. Yeah.
Love that. Kelly, any last in this last moment, take us to the finish line?
Yeah, I mean, just be conscious of your audience and your goal for the event. If your goal is to make a connection so you might get an interview after, then focus on the person speaking or the person at that company. Whatever your goal is, just be clear about why you're attending the event. And if you just want to, add people to your network and see what's going on, that's fine too. Share your links in the chat. You can copy and paste and then connect with people after, but make it a good use of your time. I think the things to avoid, like Rachel said, would be irrelevant questions. If you get the chance to come off mute and talk to someone, don't overdo it. Don't pitch them your whole work history. Don't look like a jerk that takes up all the time. Be prepared ahead of time for exactly what you want to ask and why you want to ask it. And what we talked about earlier with that 15 to 30 second pitch, it doesn't happen when you write it once. You have to write it and practice it and edit it and practice it again. It's like getting ready for any other presentation. So we help people get ready for interviews. We help people when they start a new job in their first 90 days and they have to pitch to a new team. These are things where everybody needs a little bit of help doing it. And the reason why we do it, or the reason why I started Allora Collective, is because it really, quite frankly, pissed me off that we don't have any job search education anywhere to help anyone do this. And it is cool. We all have friends or colleagues that maybe we can practice with, but at the same time, everybody's got a life and everybody's kind of busy. And someone who's been in their role for 3 years or has maybe been doing recruiting for 2-3 years does not have the muscle memory and the expertise to be able to guide you long-term in your career. People need to have seen mistakes and see how the tides shift in the market to really give you that advice. And also beware, before we close out, please beware of these they seem too good to be true. These are the 5 things you can do and you'll get your dream job. Pay me $1,000 for this course and you'll get a dream job. Stop it. It is not one size fits all. Everybody doesn't talk or present the same way. The most important thing when you look for help or a career coach, look for someone that is trying to teach you the way you learn best. If they're giving you something that is for the masses, back off, because it's usually going to require more work for you to make it fit what you need. I hope that makes sense to everybody. I'm not saying they all don't work, but I've seen a lot of people spend money on these things. I had a client who spent $1,000 on a program. They gave her 3 interviews a day for 2 months, and she was so exhausted she didn't even know her own name afterwards. And it made her more uncomfortable interviewing because it was too much. So take it one step at a time, look for referrals. We offer 1 free session with one of our coaches, not all of us, pick one. You can learn about our backgrounds and our experience on our website. We coach people through their career and we work internationally. We've all lived as immigrants in different countries and different cities, and we're more than happy to chat with you, see if we can help you in the first 20 minutes. Otherwise, we're happy to talk to you about working with us. You can read our testimonials on our website, and you can also read any of our blogs or rewatch any of our events that we've done with Power to Fly for free. So there's a lot of tools that you can get for free just from our website, including our job search networking templates. So if you join our email list, you'll get those for free as well. Keep an eye on your inbox from contact@alloracollective.com. We will also share the recording, same as Power to Fly will, and we are also going to send all of you a thank you discount for coaching services just for joining us today. We're really excited to see that you're moving forward in your job search, and we just want to see everybody have a better time with it, because if job search sucks and it doesn't feel great, that's the way it is. It's a transactional process. It's not you. It's the game. I swear it's not you. The game was not built for people. It was built for companies to figure out how much money to spend. So give yourself some grace. There's help out there. Thank you, Hunter, for hosting. You're fantastic. Thank you, Rachel, as always. I can't believe we've been working together this long. It's incredible. We've never met in person. LinkedIn buddies that became co-workers and coaches. First she was in Thailand, now she's in Paris. I was in California, then Florida, now I'm in Barcelona. Last month it was Athens. You could do this from anywhere, everybody. You can absolutely do it. Just put the work in, you'll be okay.
Amazing. Kelly, Rachel, round of applause. Thank you so much. So
Thanks
great
to everyone for all the great questions as well. It was really, really great answering all the questions. Definitely all really relevant to the points and applicable for these events or any kind of interview preparation as well.
Amazing. Well, with that, thank you all for being a part of this conversation today, our participants, our panelists, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you at the next one. Take care,
and
everybody.
thank you, Paloma. We love Paloma.
Oh, Paloma, shout out to
Paloma's the hero.
Bye, everyone.
Bye now.
Bye, everybody.